So here we go with Do Not Sync Video 2, the second reason why you should not get into sync licensing, and that is you're not going to make that much money in this industry. So if you're not sure or you're curious why a guy who has a video or a YouTube channel called Sync My Music is creating videos called Do Not Sync, it's because you haven't watched video 1. So go ahead and click on the link below and you'll get to the playlist so you can get to all of the videos in this series. It's going to be 10 videos long. The idea is I want to either scare you straight to let you realize for yourself that this is maybe an industry you don't want to spend any more time or money or effort on and go find something else. That's great. That's totally cool. You're not a failure. You're just sampling a bunch of different approaches with your music, and maybe sync licensing was something you thought was just going to be great for you. And after these 10 videos, maybe you realize it's just not in the cards for you, and that's totally cool. Or you get through these 10 videos and you realize what you're really up against with the struggle of this industry, and you're still going to commit to it. So it's going to help you double down on your commitment to success in this business. Okay. So reason number 2, you're not going to make a lot of money in this business. So if you're not aware, the entire music industry, like the global worldwide music industry, some people think that's a huge business. Relatively speaking, compared to other industries, it's actually one of the smaller businesses. It's really, really tiny. In 2022, it made about $31 billion, which, you might think of that number as a really big number. Compared to you and I and our income, it's like, wow, $31 billion. I'll take a piece of that, of course. But let's go through some comparisons of some other industries. Take a guess. How much do you think toilet paper, like literally toilet paper, the industry that makes toilet paper worldwide, globally, how much do you think it made in 2022? It was actually $53 billion. So almost double, not quite, but much higher than music, the entire music industry. And I'm talking about sales, ticket sales, everything involving with music. Yeah, so toilet paper is doing better than we are. Corn, like the vegetable, not the band, corn. How much do you think corn made as an industry in 2022? $278 billion. So what is that? 4x, 5x what we're doing, maybe more, way more than that. Video games, like the entire video game industry in 2022 did $183 billion compared to music, which is $31 billion. Video games are doing a lot better than we are. And then you go up to the top end, you compare us to like the pharmaceutical industry, $1.48 trillion, okay? So the music industry, when you look at all the different places where we could potentially make money, is one of the last places that you're going to find your wealth. And while you can hear of large sync fees, and you've heard of probably some of those success stories of composers and producers that have done 6 figures, 7 figures in this industry, it's very rare. It's not the norm, and it's not something that I want you guys to think that is immediately or likely going to be probable for you. Okay, I never want to squeeze the door completely and shut it and say it's never possible. But just to be realistic with you, real with you guys, those are the exceptions to the rule. I've often thrown around this kind of range of income that I feel is probably what you can expect to make if, again, big if, you're doing this all correctly. You're giving 100% of your time and focus to this, meaning even if you have a day job, weekends, nights, mornings, like every spare moment you have, you are basically cranking out music and supplying your production music library partners with new tracks. And those libraries that you're working with are high quality companies. So you're doing everything correctly, and you're consistently showing up to this. $20,000 to $50,000 a year is basically where I've set a kind of a realistic expectation for what you can potentially get in this business with your royalties and your consideration fees and your sync fees. So that means all different types of income. You throw it all together throughout the year, and if you're doing everything correctly, 20 to 50K is a pretty healthy salary in this industry. So if you didn't know that, you probably haven't watched some of my videos before. I've shared that range on quite a few videos in the past, but now you know, and now you can decide, is that going to really cut it for you? Is that really enough? Of course, there are a few that can go above and beyond that, but you got to be at the right place at the right time. You usually have to get a jingle or a theme placement. You have to basically work at this so often and so consistently that you just happen to find yourself in a situation where one placement kind of skyrockets you into that next stratosphere for your royalties and sync fees. But again, don't count on that. Don't expect that. That's kind of just the icing on top. So if your lifestyle right now, your family obligations, your bills, 20 to 50K is nowhere near able to pay off anything that you're doing right now, you make that decision for yourself, but at least you know what my point of view on that is, okay? A couple of other downers about what's going on in our business right now. Consideration fees, those were the fees that a library would pay you up front to basically have your tracks exclusively distributed through their TV and film sync networks. those consideration fees are pretty much mostly going away these days. When I first got started in 2008, almost every exclusive library was offering them. Some of them were on the lower end, $50 a track, but you definitely heard of the $1,000 a track, $1,500 a track, especially if you had a full orchestra you were doing, or if you were working with a vocalist, that kind of a thing. You know, the more that I'm in this business, the less and less I'm hearing about those consideration fees being offered out. There's a few that are still holding on to them, but a lot of libraries are realizing that they cannot afford to keep shelling out money up front, and a lot of them can't even, to be competitive, they have to basically not charge their TV and film clients any sync fees at all, or blanket fees, to have their tracks be used in their TV shows, movies, or commercials. So they're basically only counting on the back end, okay? So that's just the reality of what's going on right now. Sync fees also are much smaller these days than they used to be back in the day. So you would definitely see, it was common to see $20, $30, $40, $50,000 sync fees for projects. Now with music libraries, you're probably gonna see at the top end, $7,000, $5,000. That's probably gonna be a healthy one. More likely it'll be $2,000 or $3,000. Even down now, you know, a lot of the ones that I've seen recently are down to $500 or $750 or even $1,000. So those kind of big sync fees that maybe some composers were relying on for a big chunk of their income, even if you get one throughout the year or three throughout the year, it's not going to be breaking the bank kind of money and completely setting you financially free. It's so, you know, just be aware that those are going down as well. Streaming royalties. You guys, if you guys have followed my channel for a while, you know when I've shared with you some of my royalty statements that I've showed you, that streaming royalties like the Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, all that kind of stuff, they're so little, they're laughable. They're basically about a 90 to 95% cut on what you're making from the cable and network royalties that we receive through the traditional, terrestrial, what I was going to say radio, but television, right? Not streaming services, but just the traditional marketplaces. So streaming royalties right now are so small that it's almost not even worth opening up your royalty statement to read them. That's just what it is. You know, as the new advertising money maybe starts to go into those markets, those can increase. But right now, you're not making almost anything on those streaming royalties. So that's definitely something you should be aware of. So I think now, this has been a short video. I was expecting to do this a little bit longer. I realized that I've probably depressed a lot of you very, very quickly. I almost depressed myself just by sharing all of this with you guys. But again, if you followed my channel for a while, you know these are all realities. Maybe you didn't know about the music industry size. That might be a new thing for you. But everything else, you probably are aware that this is the reality that we are facing in this industry. Of course, if you can stick with it, if you can keep finding new and probably more numerous opportunities and maybe look in more unorthodox places that we haven't been traditionally looking, you can probably still find some great opportunities. But with everything that I just shared with you, there's not a lot of money here, right? There's not a lot of opportunity. There's not, if you're looking to become a millionaire, sync licensing is just probably not going to be the best play for you. So that's what I wanted you to take out of this video, okay? So following me for the next video, which I'll release next, is going to be about how sync licensing is just so subjective in terms of when you submit your tracks for a brief or for a library. Really, whether or not you get accepted or get a placement comes down to just the subjective opinion of another human being, which you can't control. If that sounds fun for you, then sync licensing might be a good fit for you. But if you want to learn about how difficult it can be, even if you are getting a direct brief from a client, how hard it can still be to get accepted and get that placement, that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. So hopefully you guys still stick around for this abuse I'm shelling out for you in this new series.